And welcome back again. Thank you for joining me for another video where we're going to do a preview, this time of the women's NCAA championship. And those events will be conducted Thursday and Saturday. And so without any further ado, let's get right into it. We'll start off with the sprints. We're going from the shortest distance all the way up to the longest distance and then into the fields. So we'll get right away with the 100. And we have a couple of names that I think that have kind of broken themselves forward. At the beginning of the outdoor season, you would have told me India Mayberry, and I would have said yes. But and even though TCU got three athletes to the meet in the 100, I feel that due to uh, potential injury, she was absent for about a month of the season. We didn't see her. I think she's still potentially trying to catch up. And she may use this meet to catch up. We'll see. She did run an outstanding 200, but we'll see. So for now, the three names that I have competing, first I have Tima God Bless of LSU, who has the fastest time in the country. Second, I have Leah Bertrand of Ohio State, the Big Tenner, the Big Ten Queen by way of Trinidad, who broke through and also ran sub 11 seconds, 10.99, and to me has been the most consistent sprinter against the elites. I mean, she has a really tough conference to compete in now. The Big Ten is very strong, specifically because of schools like USC, but also Ohio State um, is really becoming an even more elite sprinting program. We're seeing Anavia Battle, a Wayne, Michigan product, by the way, um, really do well in the professional circuit. She has already made Team USA. She's been under 22 seconds already in her career. So we're looking at a very strong program that was already on the rise, probably going even higher. And also in the 100, another name that I just simply can't ignore because she's been so consistent at USC, that's Deja DeFran by way of Florida State. And if you look on this channel, you can see the videos of her last year for Florida State at the ACC Championship. And I got to see her up close and personal and what a talent she is. But I will say this, I do think the transfer has done her some good. Granted, the Florida State sprinters are having a great year, but so are the USC sprinters. She looks to be a step above, more so in the 200 than even in the 100. But in the 100, I think she's a threat. She is the 60-meter indoor champion. She surprised everyone, ran a 7:09. If I'm not mistaken, she was the only sub 7:1 in the entire country this indoor season. And she may surprise us again at this meet as we're expecting USC to have a great meet on both men and women's side. So I do think we can't ignore Deja DeFran. And my big concern with Tima God Bless, unfortunately, is that on occasion she has, not lived up to the potential. I thought she would have been the SEC champion. Instead, it was Jamesia Ford, who doesn't have a sub 11 time but may surprise us. So let's keep an eye on her. But Leah Bertrand and Deja DeFran have competed against each other regularly this season and have both always seemed to have brought out the best in each other. And I'm going to lean to Deja pulling out another surprise because she's going to go into the meet as my favorite. Now, moving to the 200, I'm going to bring her name back up again. That's Jamesia Ford. Can't ignore the talented athlete that she is. And although she took, I'll say, a brief step back indoors, outdoors, she did exactly what I expected her to do, learned from that mistake, and stepped up. India Mayberry was the only person indoors who was able to beat her, and outdoors, no one has been able to beat her. She is, if I'm not mistaken, top five in 100, 200, and 400. What a talent. She's primarily a 200-meter sprinter. She did not win the 200-meter title last outdoor season. I think this outdoor season, I think she is the GOAT in that event this year. I think her biggest competitor will come from Madison White of USC, who I have listed as a potential runner-up or a potential champion. Madison White, 22:16 in the 200. Only person better than her is Jamesia with 22:01. But White, that decision for her to go to USC has benefited her so well. She's spoken about all the facilities and all the support that's in place for her to succeed. And you see what it takes to have a championship level athlete. They have to have that full mind body connection and soul, in my opinion. And I believe she has that there at USC. And also another name that I think we can't ignore is because I'm happy to see her living up to the hype that she was coming out of high school. You have Jasmine Montgomery of Texas A&M, and she was an incredibly fast sprinter in high school, and things didn't go well in her two previous stops at Oregon and then at Florida. But now at Texas A&M, she is literally, at a whole other level that we thought she would be at a couple years ago, but she's here now and she's a threat to win the meet in the 200. She's got a 22.3, 22.2 personal best. So she's going to be a big name in the final, I think. But again, my favorite to win is going to be Jamisha Ford. Do I think Jamisha's going to put up a sub 22? If weather holds up, I think it's quite possible. And then moving to now the 400, I think this one is probably the most obvious when it comes to a favorite. And I'm going to lean to Aaliyah Butler of Georgia. And what a great year Georgia's having. I mean, we're talking about the USC sprinters, but Georgia having a great year all around the track and the field. But Aaliyah Butler of Georgia, 49.44. She has one of the fastest times in NCAA history. Then you have another superstar in that same race who she's going to compete against. But sticking to Butler, she hasn't lost this outdoor season yet. And no matter who she stepped up against, she's found a way to beat them. She has been consistently high performing throughout her career. And I think she's going to just continue. She already has an Olympic gold medal to her credit. I think all that's missing is an NCAA title. And her biggest competitor, I think, would be Kaylin Brown of Arkansas. And that's because Kaylin has already been under 50 seconds as well. And Kaylin has the faster personal best. She ran 49.13, as we know, last outdoor season, part of that great 400 program that was at Arkansas that, I felt if they were really, really pushed to their personal best, they probably could have ran 319, 318. They were that good. They looked almost like they were their country, a country in themselves, as in regards to great quarter milers. Then you have Dejanay Oakley, who is Butler's teammate at Georgia. She, to me, is the wild card. And the reason why she's the wild card is because speed wise, she's actually faster than both Butler and Brown when it comes to just short speed. And so I think if she can get her 400 technique down the way Butler and Brown has, we're looking at a low 49 as well. And that's saying something because Butler is really running phenomenally well. And I think it's going to probably run a PR just to be able to go toe to toe with Kaylin Brown. But I think Dejanay Oakley is going to PR here. And I'm thinking we're looking at a field where the top three are all going to be under 50 seconds if weather holds up. And so I'm going to go into the meet with my favorite being Aaliyah Butler. Part of me, when I initially wrote this down, I wrote Kaylin Brown, but I don't want to put it past her because she surprised us at the meet last year, but I don't think she's surprising anybody this year. I think Butler, having had beaten her quite a few times, has been so consistent this outdoor season. I don't see her losing that step. And now moving to the 100 hurdles, you got Habiba Harris, the freshman from the University of Florida. And it seems that Florida went from having Grace Stark to now Habiba Harris. Regardless of how many feel about the women's sprint program, they've been able to hang around with a lot of the bigger named programs when it comes to hurdling, and they've been able to produce champions. And Habiba Harris, to me, if she doesn't win it this year, she's next in line. But she's having a year very similar to what Grace Stark had when she was a freshman at Florida. And then also you have in this race Aaliyah McCormick of Oregon, who's having a great strong year for the Ducks. She ran a phenomenal Big Ten championship race against a really strong field. She wasn't even the favorite going into the Big Ten meet, and she came out the champion. And then she improved upon her time at the West Coast Regionals, running that 12.7. She, again, is a brief step behind Habiba, but she's been consistent and she's delivered at every meet that she's been at so far of this outdoor season, specifically in the postseason. And then another name I think that we can, kind of look to possibly contest Mariana Beebe of Tennessee. And we haven't said her name since SEC indoors. Things didn't go well for her at the NCAA indoor meet, but outdoors she's just been chugging along, and Tennessee's having a great year hurdling. So I would just simply put her there as the potential to threaten Habiba and Aaliyah. But my favorite is definitely going to be Habiba. Running that 12.62 and the closest to you runs 12.74, and you haven't even peaked yet, at least I don't think as a freshman. I think there's still possibly a 12.5 in those legs. We'll see. I think that's what it's going to take to win that race. And, Habiba Harris, another talented young hurdler from Jamaica, ready to compete. And now moving to the 400 hurdles, you have Savannah Sutherland of Michigan. I've seen Savannah a couple of times last year at the Penn Relays, and this year at an indoor meet in Michigan. But I have watched her over the course of her career. She surprised us in 2023 when she won the NCAA title. She beat, I believe, then uh, Britton Wilson of Arkansas. Just simply better technique, and I think Britton had put too much on her plate. And last year she fell just short against a really strong field, but with no one else running sub 54 outside of Akala Garrett, I think Savannah Sutherland is the leader in the clubhouse. And then you do have Akala Garrett of Texas, who's going to be mentioned here because she's the only person I think capable of beating Savannah. Savannah has the pedigree of already having an NCAA title. Akala Garrett has the pedigree of being at a school that has historically produced great 400 hurdlers and an Olympic gold medalist in Melaine Walker. Akala Garrett is having a great year, both the high and the low hurdles. I feel that she's having a better year at the low hurdles, which doesn't surprise us because that's what we thought of her when she came out of high school. She was a huge get for Coach Edric Florial, and she's been excellent both years. And I think she's going to really give Savannah a push. And the last contender, I think, is Michelle Smith, the freshman out of Georgia. I think Michelle Smith is going to be a thorn in Akala Garrett's side as we move forward. As Sutherland is going to graduate and move on. So it will be Garrett versus Smith in the future. We do have a pretty decent crop of freshmen and also a great crop of high schoolers getting ready to come in. But I think those two are going to be just heads and shoulders above everyone else. Michelle Smith is a 54-second freshman. I believe the leader internationally in the U20 division. We're going to be talking about her a lot in the future. But my favorite will be Savannah Sutherland of Michigan. I think that she will pull it out. I think she can also PR again. And I think everyone else is going to need to PR to hang with Savannah Sutherland, who we will see competing professionally for Canada. But I think the least she'll do is win the NCAA title yet again. And now moving to the distance events, we'll get into the 800 and we'll talk about Michaela Rose of LSU. And it gives me great pleasure to talk about Michaela this outdoor season because she's living up to the hype that we thought she was last year. We thought last year she was going to be able to beat Juliet Whitaker and Rayson Willis. And she just, unfortunately, things didn't pan out in either indoor or outdoor. She would have the great regular season and not be able to hang in the championship final round. And she's done a lot this outdoor season. She's been consistently running 158. And this is going to be a tough field. I believe there are about 5 or 6 athletes who can run sub 2 minutes. So we're looking at potentially a 157 800. I think that's what it's going to take to win. I could be wrong because the weather could be faulty, but we'll see. But Michaela Rose having a strong year. Megan Hunter of BYU is the next name. She's also a sub 159 runner, has run 158 a couple of times. And she is sort of the pride of the BYU program. They are having another outstanding year. As usual, hats off to the great coaching that goes on at BYU. And Utah in general, the state is just really doing a great job of producing uh, long sprinters and middle distance and distance runners. So it seems like from the 400 on up, the state of Utah is pretty much getting closer to being amongst the cream of the crop when it comes to high school talent. We rely heavily on what goes on in California, what goes on in Washington out west, but we can't ignore what's going on in the state of Utah either. And Megan Hunter will be a threat. And then the last big name is Gladys Chippingitich of Clemson. I've seen her run in person. I think she's having a stronger 800 year than she did last year. And under coach Elliott, I believe she is having the best year of any of his Clemson Tigers in regards to 800-meter runners that he's had in quite a while. I think she is going to run 158 at the meet. I felt that she could have ran 158 at the ACC meet. We'll see what happens, but she's having quite the year. And so let's see what happens with this field. It's going to be very fast, but also very competitive. My hope is that it doesn't get to the point where it's slowed and tactical. I don't want to see that for 800. I think we saw that indoors, and that was just kind of disappointing. And I'm hoping for not the same outdoors. My favorite is going to be Michaela Rose. I think now is the time. I get it. I did not mention Royce and Willis. She's not lived up to expectations as of yet for me. For whatever reason, Stanford women seem to be just a step behind. She may surprise us. But right now, I think it is Michaela Rose. And moving to the 1500, the metric mile, we had some surprises. First, let's talk about Shannon Flockhart of Providence. No, we're not talking about Kimberly May, which is who I thought we would be talking about. We are talking about Shannon Flockhart. Shocked us with that 404, 405, 1500 at regionals, looking solid against a pretty strong field. Um, and she burst onto the scene. She's been a name mentioned as a competitor, but in the elite class, I don't think we've mentioned her here. And so it's good to see a Providence athlete here. They're known for their great distance runners, and she's, next in line. And then you also have Margot Appleton of Virginia. Seems that Virginia's going to always have a miler here mentioned. Inside, it's Gary Martin. On the women's side, it's Margot Appleton. She's been the leader in the clubhouse for majority of the outdoor season, and she didn't lose that ranking until uh, Shannon Flockhart broke it at regionals. And she, to me, looked comfortable. I think she's in prime position. Margot looked really, really good at regionals, but she looked even better early in the season, running that real good 407, 406, I believe. She's, ready, I think, to claim the title. And then another name I think we can't ignore is someone we did mention on this channel from Washington. That's Chloe Forrester. Um, she was a headliner here on the channel. She at one point was the NCAA leader indoors in the mile. And I don't think you can ignore that. She is a gamer. She is competing for Washington, which has a great middle distance program. I think she's going to be there in the final round, pushing Shannon and Margot. And, there could be another name that we're not mentioning here because this is a really deep field. Don't forget Iodiz of Oregon. But I do think amongst these three women, you're going to find your champion. And my favorite to win it is Margot Appleton of Virginia. And moving to the 5K, this is where things will get interesting. You got Pamela Koskei of New Mexico. And here New Mexico is again competing on a very high level against the elite programs. But we need to remember, although they're a smaller school, they are an elite program. And Pamela Koskei, an outstanding freshman, we're going to see her in the 5K and in the 10K. And she's a challenger in both. The very talented freshman. We expected her to really compete in the 3,000-meter steeplechase, where she is also good. Another competitor that will be competing in both the 5K and the 10K with Pamela Koskei is Grace Hartman, who I've mentioned on this channel that I've met in person. Met her on the elevator at the Penn Relays in the hotel. Very talented athlete, really strong performer against elite competition. This is a really dominant runner. She's looked great outdoors. So has Pamela, but I think they're going to push each other to new heights. And I don't think anybody's beaten Grace in that 5K. So I'm going to give her the favorite title now before I mention the final competitor. And then you have Chloe Scrimgrauer of Georgetown. Been a while since we've mentioned a woman from Georgetown. They have a great group of distance runners we know on the men's side. But on the women's side, we were waiting to see them get back to this level. And here they are with a really talented 5K runner. Not picking her to win it, but I do think she's going to be in the competition. That's why I mentioned her here. In the 10K, joining Koska and Hartman, I have Hilda Olamoimoy of Florida, who to me has been a little bit of a disappointment since her transfer. She has yet to, I think, live up to the hype and up to the standards she set when she was at Alabama. This to me is her best chance to deliver. She's only competing in the 10K. She kind of ran out of gas at regionals to make it in the 5K, even though she's a top 10 competitor. I really thought she would be able to compete in both. But here she is going to be competing in the 10K, and I think I'm going to shock you guys. I'm going to pick her to actually win it. With her only competing in this event, she'll have fresh legs. We'll see. The Florida runners, to me, in the distance, have been a little up and down when it comes to the national meet outside of Parker Valby. But I think with her, being fresh and ready to only compete in one event, I think she probably will surprise Grace and Pamela, who are the biggest threats to her, who will also be running the 5K. And that is the distance events outside of the steeplechase. And the reason why I'm going to highlight this because this is the one event where I think it's one person and that is it. And that's no disrespect to the other two that are in this race. But I think we can make this event a very short preview. Doris Lemongold of Alabama and everyone else. Doris Lemongold broke the NCAA record, has been close to it several times already. She's comfortably been dominating everybody that we could list, just comfortably. And we're talking 15 to 20 seconds ahead. She's lapping people already through 4 or 5 laps into the race. Outstanding runner, a consistent high performer, and I just don't think anyone's beaten her in this race. You have Lexi Holiday Lowry of BYU, who will be in the competition, I think, competing for second. And then also joining her, where it will be a strong competition for second place, I have Caitlin Stewart Barnett of Michigan State. Happy to see a Big Tenor, someone from my home state, performing very well. Michigan State, really the preeminent distance power in the state, not Michigan. They've done a phenomenal job, and she won the Big Ten title. So she's already conquered some of the talent out west that Lexi Holly Lowry has already beaten. The only person I think that she hasn't been able to conquer because she's just proven not to be on that level is Doris Lemongold of Alabama. And I think Doris is just going to run away with it. Now moving away from the running on the track to what's going on the field. And before I do that, my mistake. Let me make sure I mention the relays. In the 4x1, you have USC, Florida State, and South Carolina, and I'm going to go with USC. And then on the 4x4, you have Arkansas, South Carolina, and Georgia, and I'm going to go with Georgia. Yep, I'm picking Georgia to beat Arkansas. You can write it down. Now, in the field events, in the high jump, we have a defending champion. We have Elena Kulichenko of Georgia. She is a defending champion in the high jump. She's been a championship performer pretty much her entire career at Georgia. She's always amongst the final three. She's had an up and down outdoor season, but still performing at an elite level. And she knows how to compete at an NCAA championship. It seems like when she's at the championship meet, she knows when to turn things on. Competing against her is Rose Yaboa of Illinois, who's been the leader in the clubhouse pretty much majority of the outdoor season. She just had her mark taken down by the next woman we're going to talk about, but hats off to Rose Yaboa of Illinois and to the great coach Petros for developing another outstanding jumper. But we have Timmy Tope Adeshina of Texas Tech, who burst onto the scene last indoor season, not 2025, but 2024 as a freshman. And she's had an outstanding career. Um, I think like most freshmen, she did not have the championship meet that she kind of wanted last year, but this year I think she's going to make up for it because I am picking Timmy Tope to win it. I think she will win the high jump. As great as Alina and Rose are, Timmy Tope to me seems to be picking at the right time. And then moving to the pole vault, you have the twin sisters Amanda Mole and Hannah Mole. We'll talk about Amanda first because she is having a record breaking year. Although her sister was the queen last year, she's kind of been the queen this year. Already over 16 feet indoors, breaking the NCAA record every chance she gets. She hasn't been really, threatened by anyone this outdoor season other than her sister. And this is a great year for pole vaulting. There's some great marks that are being put up. But Amanda Mull is just class of the field. Hannah Mull, her sister, does have an indoor title to her credit last indoor 2024. But she hasn't been able to get back to that championship level that she was at since then. It's either been her sister or the next woman we're going to talk about, who I've seen in person twice, Chloe Timberg of Rutgers. And Chloe is, of course, that strong built pole vaulter who I really think probably could be a great heptathlete. But Chloe Timberg is going to be there. She's going to be amongst the top finalists in the pole vault. However, I just think Amanda Mull is a step ahead of everyone else. She's having a phenomenal year, and I think she'll continue. I think she is the favorite to win it. Now, moving to the long jump, where things are going to get real interesting, as I think an NCAA record is under threat here, and that's by Alexis Brown of Baylor. She's another athlete that transferred. She came from Florida back to Baylor. She is from the state of Texas. And things have gone well for her since her transfer. She is over 23 feet on the season. She easily won the Western region jumping almost 23 feet. God, she is such a talented jumper, and I think she's ready for another big time jump. She dominated indoors, and I think she's going to dominate outdoors. I'm going to go out on a limb and say she is going to be the NCAA champion, although there is another big name in this field, and that's Anthea Charlton of Florida. And Anthea really had a phenomenal indoor season, regular indoor season, jumping that 22:11. She hasn't jumped that mark outdoors as of yet, but it tells me that there's a 23-foot jump in her legs, and it's going to take that for her to beat Alexis Brown. She's been consistently a champion this outdoor season. It seems that almost every meet that she's been at, she's won. She is the SEC champion, an SEC meet which had some pretty unfortunate weather. She's developing also as a 100-meter sprinter. She's got a really great time. She set the school record in the 100. So I'm expecting her to be a finalist. She is going to be big for Florida, which is quietly putting together a decent squad on the women's side. They have a competitor in the 100, the 200, the hurdles, the jumps, the throws, of course, and even the distance. So we don't know what Florida's going to do. So we'll see. And then also you have Humphrey of Illinois. And it's important to make sure we are aware, again, this is a Petros coach athlete, and they do well at NCAA championships. And she, at one point, was the leader in the clubhouse early in the indoor season. She's been an elite jumper all year long. She just hasn't been able to break through the Alexis Brown and Thea Charlton gridlock. And we'll see. Again, I'm still picking Alexis Brown to win it, but I think Takoria will put up a pretty impressive time. Or excuse me, mark. So we're expecting a great long jump competition. I'm thinking possibly three athletes over 23 feet because, yes, I'm including Takoria in that field. I think Alexis Brown and Thea Charlton and Takoria Humphrey are going to give us a show in the long jump. I really do. And now moving to the triple jump, we got another champion in the race. You have Agur Dwal of Oklahoma. It seems that they've got something going on there when it comes to triple jump at Oklahoma. She is the indoor champion in the triple jump, and she won the SEC title. She beat our number two, we'll talk about in a minute. And she just hasn't lost this year yet. And I'm not sure she is going to lose. But Edgar Dwal of Oklahoma will be the leader in our clubhouse. And then we have Winnie B of Texas A&M, who if you would have asked me a couple of months ago who would win it, I would have said her. But she again has lost to Agur Dwal. Winnie B, a great athlete that transferred from Oklahoma State. And it seems that transfer decision was smart on her part. And then a young woman that I've seen in person also, because I've seen Winnie B in person, but I've also seen Shantae Foreman of Clemson. I've seen her in person a couple of times. I have pictures of her on my channel. Um, by way of Jamaica, she is one of the best triple jumpers I've seen. She held the lead outdoors for majority of the outdoor season until Gore and Benny, or excuse me, Winnie B met her mark. She hasn't regularly competed against them, so I'm curious to see what she does at the NCAA meet. I think it'll take a 46-foot jump, maybe even 47. We don't know because we haven't really seen Winnie jump surpass her indoor marks. And the same with Agur. Shantae has, so but I still think she's going to be in it. But my favorite to win is going to be Agur. I think she's ready to win the outdoor title, and whatever freshman hiccup we thought she was going to have, she gave that up. So we'll put her as the favorite. Now, moving to the throws, we have into the shot put Maya Lesnar of Colorado State. No surprise, the great daughter of Brock Lesnar is having an outstanding outdoor season. She lost a little bit of the glow that was on her last outdoor season because of throwers like Jada Ross. But this season, she's just kind of been locked in and on another level. And this is a great field in the shot put. I mean, a great field. But I just think that she learned a lot from last year, and it seems that she's focused on not just winning, but getting better. And to me, that is the makeup of a champion, which is why I'm going to go with her as my favorite. Also in the competition, you have Jaden Ulrich, and we're going to be mentioning Jaden a lot this weekend because she's not only a competitor in the shot put, she is the leader in the clubhouse in the discus. So she's the best chance I think we have at a thrower doubling. She's not the only one doubling, but I think she's the best shot at it happening. Because if there's anybody that's going to be able to beat Maya Lesnar, I think it'll be her. And then you can't go a meet without an Ole Miss thrower in the competition, and of course that leads us to Akioma Odaluga of Ole Miss, who she's going to be there because Connie Smith Price is going to make sure she's in the finals amongst the elite throwers. She is on the younger side, but that doesn't mean anything to Ole Miss. But they have historically, under Coach Connie Price Smith, constantly put up a phenomenal group of throwers. They already have Tariq Robinson O'Hagan on the men's side, and I think she's going to eventually become what he is on the women's side. But I'm again picking my favorite to win it to be Maya Lesnar. Now in the discus, again, I do believe my favorite would be Jaden Ulrich, but we can't ignore Alita Van Dalen of Florida, who's going to be huge team points for the Gators. Who the only person ranked ahead of her is Jaden Ulrich. She's the only person I think capable of upsetting her uh, in this event. I think those two are 1A and 1B, but I'm leaning more towards Ulrich. Another competitor in this field is Jaden, excuse me, not Jaden, but Shelby Frank of Texas Tech, who I still feel probably should have stayed at Minnesota. She's the only athlete I think I have where I'm like, I wish she would have stayed. Because Minnesota's having a phenomenal year with the throwers, both indoor and out. But maybe the situation wasn't. Maybe it didn't have anything to do with coaching. Maybe I do everything with personality. Maybe she has more of a Texas personality. She's gonna be another All American. I don't think she can beat Jaden in the discus. She is an elite level thrower. Had she still been at Minnesota, I may have given her the benefit of the doubt. But just know that we're moving to the hammer throw, and she is one of the leaders in the clubhouse there. And in fact, I'll give her the benefit and say she's my favorite to win the hammer throw. You also have Laura Roberts of Texas State, which is quietly putting together a really good throwing program. They had a great year last year, and they're having a pretty solid year this year, especially through Laura Roberts, who's going to be, among the elite in the hammer throw. Stephanie Radcliffe is another great thrower from Georgia. We're going to be mentioning quite a few throwers from Georgia. Quite a few. They're having a great year in the field and on the track. And this is a very strong Georgia women's team, as you're going to be hearing more Georgia names. But that's the hammer throw. And again, my favorite to win that, we will lead with Shelby Frank. And now in the javelin is where we talk about the Georgia athletes. You have Manuela Rotunda, who is a freshman. Yes, she's a freshman, but does not seem to be phased because she's been able to perform at a high level regardless of who she's competing against. And that includes her teammate, Liana Davidson, who also will be an elite finalist. We're potentially looking at 18 team points for the Georgia Bulldogs here alone. And we've mentioned them several times in this preview. That's how strong that Georgia team is and how capable they are. And then another big name is Maddie Harris from Nebraska. And I'm going to surprise you and say that is my favorite. And here's the reason why. It has nothing to do with the fact that Manuela Rotunda is a freshman. Nothing to do with that at all. The reason why I'm picking Maddie Harris from Nebraska is because Nebraska athletes, to me, when it comes to the field events, are the most technically well coached athletes. They are so good at developing great jumpers, great throwers, even great hurdlers. If it involves technique more critically, I think that they often do the best job of teaching it. And they had Rima Odobor dominate for 2 years. Maddie Harris to me is literally the next up in the competition. So Maddie Harris will be my favorite to win the javelin. Now, moving to the heptathlon, our final event we'll talk about today, you have another freshman, Sophia Ayakushina of Texas A&M. You know, Texas A&M has been really good with developing heptathletes for the past couple years, and she's the next in line, I think. We have a phenomenal competition when it comes to heptathletes because we have three very strong athletes. After her, it's Pippi Lotta Enoch of Oklahoma. Pippi Lotta has, been a name I've mentioned on this channel so many times because I've been expecting her to win it so many times. She is the indoor champion, so we'll see what happens outdoors. But then there's Jaden O'Brien of Notre Dame. And those three are three incredible heptathletes. This is going to be a very good competition because they all can jump well, run well, and throw well. And it's going to take a collection of sheer will amongst themselves individually who just wants it more in what event. They're going to have to lean heavily on what their event strength is and improve on what their event weakness is. And for that, I'm actually going to go with Jaden O'Brien. I think she's, due her credit. She's often left out when it comes to the prediction. And I just don't think we can ignore her this outdoor season. So I'm going to pick Jaden O'Brien to be the heptathlon NCAA champion. And now for the team title battle, I think it is between Georgia, Arkansas, and USC. Very similar to the men's side. But I'm actually going to go with the Georgia Bulldogs because of the level of athletes that they have brought to the meet. And when I mean by level, I mean all their competitors are capable of scoring high. They may walk out of this meet with several individual NCAA champions, let alone the NCAA team title. They're going to be strong in the 100 with Kayla Jackson, 200. They have 400, really two good 400-meter runners, Asia Oakley, and of course, Leah Butler. They're going to do very well in the jumps. They have competitors in the jumps, and they have a deep bench in the field events. And they have two very good relays where they are potentially capable of winning both. So this is a really deep team. It is going to be tough beating USC because I think if everything falls USC's way, no matter what Georgia has going on, it's going to be difficult because USC is deep in the 100, the 200, the 400. They have great jumpers and they have great relays. What they do not have are the hurdlers. That's what's missing from this USC team. They're hurdlers. They have a really young, talented Nona Waldron, who I would have thought, by way of Oak Park High School, my parents' high school, you know, by now that she would have qualified. But that's just how deep the West region was when it came to the hurdles. This is a tough, tough, tough field. I think it's going to take sub 12.9 just for you to make it to the finals. That's how tough it is. So many athletes are PRing between 12.6 and 12.8 that I think 12.9 may not even cut it. So again, Georgia is my favorite to win. And I think just like the men's side, we're in for an incredible meet. I don't know if we're going to see that many NCAA records. We're going to see any of the historic records fall, but we're definitely going to probably see one or two. So that is the preview. So please like, share, subscribe, comment. As you see, if you comment, I do reply back. Please enjoy this weekend. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. We'll have a lot to talk about, whether it be Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. But I look forward to speaking with you guys in the future to talk about what a great, outstanding season we've had. Thanks again. Talk to you soon.